Nikki, witches.
Do you have a witch in your family history? I was thinking about this. I do actually apparently have some witches in my family. Quite partial to being called a witch as well. Think about that whatever you want. But this is actually, it's quite a serious story about how during the 16th century and the mid-18th century, there were lots of women, and some men actually, that were convicted of witchcraft and burned at the stake, mainly in Scotland actually, also in England, but mainly in Scotland. And Scottish MSP Natalie Dunn has actually launched a consultation to repeal the convictions on a members' bill. So it's this idea...
What's the point?
Well, Nicola Sturgeon has already apologised to the families of the people that were...
Has she?
Yes, to the families of people that were convicted of witchcraft. And so, it's this idea that... Well, we know that we've started doing this kind of reparations thing, haven't we, with people who were wrongly convicted of crimes in the past. So I know like the famous example is Alan Turing. But it's really, really interesting. And apparently there are some covens, and including the Witches of Scotland campaign group, that are very, very pro this happening. So I just find it so interesting. I mean, there were a lot of people, up to 6,000 people in Scotland convicted. So it is quite a number of people.
It's awful. When you look back on it, it is absolutely awful. However, I do sort of think, what's the point in pardoning someone who was killed 300 years ago?
Why not?
Well, is it anachronistic as well to try and impose a modern view back on the past and say, OK, isn't it better just to say, well, we've learnt that probably isn't the best thing to do and then move on?
No,
I don't know.
It's stronger than that, though. I mean, it was just plain evil and wrong and misogynistic.
It was totally misogynistic.
But if you think about the history of all kinds of injustices, politicians would do nothing but apologise for past historical wrongs.
Well, they do. They're meant to, aren't they? As we well know.
A department, a ministry for apologies.
Yeah.